The millionaire pretended to be a janitor for a month. What he discovered changed his life. It was just past midnight when Nathaniel Royce stepped out of his sleek black car and looked up at the aging building. The facility was one of his oldest, a forgotten piece in the grand puzzle of his tech empire. From the outside, it looked tired, like no one had cared for it in years. He tugged at the janitor's uniform, itchy around his collar, and took a deep breath. He wasn't here as the billionaire CEO tonight. No one knew who he really was. He came with a mop, a fake name, and a mission: to understand why this branch was failing when the others thrived. He had heard whispers: bad management, low morale, but no report had given him the full picture. Nathaniel walked through the side entrance, clutching a lunchbox he hadn't packed himself. Inside, it held a cheap sandwich and a thermos of black coffee. It was his first night on the job. The scent hit him first, old soap and stale air. He saw flickering lights, peeling paint, and a vending machine that buzzed louder than it should. Then he met her. Lucia Ramirez was already wiping down a hallway bench. She had dark circles under her eyes and hands that moved with tired grace. She looked up, gave a faint smile, and nodded. "You knew?" she asked. "Yeah," Nathaniel said, clearing his throat. "Name's Nate." Lucia gave a small nod. "Good luck. Elevators busted again. We're on mop duty all night." And just like that, the billionaire started scrubbing floors. Nathaniel quickly learned that janitor work was no joke. His back hurt, and sweat gathered under his cap. But as the hours dragged on, he started to see things, not just the dirt, but the people. How the workers barely spoke above a whisper when the supervisor passed. How the night shift ate alone. How Lucia's phone would light up every hour with a photo of her sleeping son. She never checked it. She just smiled softly and kept working. By the end of the week, Nathaniel had met them all. Old Gary, who'd worked as a janitor for 22 years, always humming the same jazz tune. Samira, who used to be an engineer before her husband's accident. And Malik, barely 20, always scribbling something in his notebook during breaks. But the facility itself told another story. Broken machines patched with duct tape. Supplies always running short. And the supervisor, Mr. Halverson, barking orders with a smirk that made Nathaniel's fists tighten. Every night, Nathaniel took notes in secret. He was gathering more than just grime, he was gathering truth. One evening, as he sat in the janitor's lounge sipping stale coffee, Lucia sat beside him. "You don't talk much," she said. "Just observing," he replied. "You're different," she said quietly. "Most new ones don't last." He looked at her. "Why do you?" Lucia paused. Her eyes drifted to the floor. "My boy's in 3rd grade," she said. "He wants to build robots someday. I clean so he can dream." Nathaniel didn't know what to say. Something stirred inside him, shame maybe, or admiration. He nodded. Later that night, when Lucia stepped out for her break, Nathaniel accidentally bumped into Malik's locker. A paper fluttered out. Curious, he picked it up. It was a blueprint, detailed, smart, and taped to the back of the locker like it had been hidden. His heart stopped. This wasn't a janitor's doodle. It was a working design for an energy-saving device, one that could revolutionize his company's product line. He stared at the drawing, then at the empty hallway. Who had drawn this, and why was it hidden? Nathaniel folded the blueprint and tucked it carefully into his pocket. His hands were shaking, not from fear, but from something else. Wonder, excitement, confusion. He had teams of engineers and scientists working in shiny towers, yet here was something brilliant. Found behind a janitor's locker. The next morning, while the others were clocking out and stretching sore backs, Nathaniel lingered near the locker room. Malik walked in, yawning, his notebook clutched to his chest as always. Nathaniel watched him closely. "You dropped something last night?" Nathaniel asked casually. Malik froze for a second, then shrugged. "Nah. Why?" Nathaniel looked into his eyes. There was hesitation, a flicker of fear. Just cleaning up, found a sketch, thought it was cool. Malik's smile was quick but tight. Just a hobby, he said. Nothing big. But Nathaniel knew better. That wasn't just a hobby, that was invention. Over the next few nights, Nathaniel started helping Malik clean the lab floors. Sometimes they talked, mostly they didn't, but Nathaniel asked little questions about school, about dreams. Malik opened up in pieces. He'd gone to college for 2 semesters. Dropped out when his mom got sick, never went back. Too expensive, he muttered, and nobody cares what a janitor thinks anyway. Nathaniel's chest ached. At the same time, he started watching Mr. Halverson more closely. He noticed how supply orders never matched what was in the closet, how overtime sheets went missing, how Lucia always got the worst shifts, even though she was the best worker. And then, one night, Nathaniel saw it, Halverson slipping into the manager's office long after hours. A laptop bag in one hand, a paper folder in the other. Nathaniel waited, watched, followed. The next day he called his assistant secretly from a payphone down the block. "Pull the spending reports from Facility 19, he said. "Last 18 months. Cross-check janitorial supply costs and vendor payments, quietly." Back at work, Nathaniel kept playing the part. Mopping, scrubbing, listening. But he also started helping in small ways, fixing a loose chair, finding an old tablet someone thought was broken, showing Lucia a shortcut to speed up the floor buffer. Little things, but they mattered. Lucia smiled more. Malik started asking Nathaniel for advice. Even old Gary, who never trusted anyone, started saving him a seat in the break room. Nathaniel was changing, and not just how he saw the company, he was changing who he was. One night, Malik showed him another sketch. "This one's better," he whispered. "Smaller, more efficient." Nathaniel looked at it and nodded. "You ever think about showing these to someone higher you up?" Malik laughed. "They'd just laugh." Nathaniel smiled softly. "You never know." Meanwhile, the report from his assistant came in. The numbers didn't lie. Halverson had been redirecting funds, overcharging vendors, and pocketing the difference. Nearly $100,000 gone. Nathaniel's blood boiled, but he waited, because before he could fix the building, he had to understand its people. And one person he couldn't figure out yet was Lucia. She was always kind, always calm, but there was sadness she hid well. One night, as they scrubbed the main hallway, Nathaniel asked, "Do you ever think about doing something else?" Lucia paused. "Every day." "So why don't you?" She looked at him for a long time. "Because I'm afraid," she whispered, "of failing, of losing what little I have left." Nathaniel didn't know what to say. He wanted to help her, to tell her he wasn't really who he said he was. But he couldn't, not yet, not until he made things right. And so the janitor kept sweeping. And the billionaire kept learning, until one day, Lucia didn't show up for her shift. No one knew why. Her phone went straight to voicemail, and Nathaniel felt something he hadn't expected. Panic. He needed to find her. But what had happened to Lucia? Nathaniel couldn't focus. Lucia's absence left a strange emptiness in the air. The halls felt colder. The usual rhythm of the shift was off. Even Gary noticed. "She ever miss a day?" Nathaniel asked him in the break room. Gary shook his head. "Not once in 6 years. Not even when her boy had the flu." Something was wrong. Nathaniel waited through the night, glancing at the entrance every few minutes. But Lucia never came. As soon as his shift ended, he tossed off his gloves, grabbed his phone, and stepped outside. He scrolled through the private company directory. Her full name was there from the employee file. He found an address, a tiny apartment on the east side of the city. He didn't care about keeping his cover anymore. He drove there fast, parked crooked, climbed the cracked stairwell 2 steps at a time. He knocked. No answer. He knocked again, louder. Finally, a little voice spoke from behind the door. "Hello?" Nathaniel leaned down. "Is this Matteo?" A pause. Yes, it's Nate. I work with your mom. Is she home? Another pause. She's sick. She said not to open the door. Nathaniel's heart dropped. Is she okay? I don't know. Mateo's voice trembled. Can you put her on the phone? Nathaniel gave his number. After a minute, his phone rang. Lucia's voice was weak. I'm fine, she whispered. Just a fever. I didn't want anyone to know. Nathaniel could tell she was lying. Something deeper was going on. Do you need anything? Food? Medicine? She hesitated. I'll be okay. Just needed rest. But Nathaniel wasn't convinced. He went back to his car and made another call. This time to the company's emergency care fund manager. Has Lucia Ramirez ever used her employee health benefits? He asked. There was silence on the other end. No. In fact, she was listed as ineligible due to a status change last year. What status change? Her manager flagged her as part-time despite her full-time hours. She was removed from benefit coverage. Nathaniel gritted his teeth. Halverson again. He went back to the facility that night, but not to mop floors. He went to confront. Halverson was in his office, sipping coffee like nothing was wrong. Nathaniel stepped in, locked the door behind him. Halverson looked up. Who the hell are you? Nathaniel took off his cap. Nathaniel Royce. Halverson's face turned pale. Why, you're the janitor. No, I'm the CEO, and I know everything. He dropped the folder of evidence on the desk, embezzlement, fake status reports, fraud. You're done, Nathaniel said. Security escorted Halverson out within the hour. By sunrise, emails were sent, HR policies reviewed, and Lucia's name was put back into full-time status with back pay. Nathaniel didn't wait. He went back to her apartment. This time, Lucia opened the door. She looked tired, her hair pulled back, eyes red from crying. He handed her an envelope. What's this? Your full benefits and your new role, head of facility wellness. She stared at him. You're not a janitor, she said. He shook his head. I needed to see what was really happening here, and thanks to you I did. Tears filled her eyes. I don't know what to say. Just say you'll accept. And rest today, please. She nodded. Later that week, Malik walked into the new break room, remodeled, repainted, and brighter than ever. Nathaniel stood waiting. I showed your sketches to our R&D team, he said. They're stunned. They want to hire you, full-time, as an innovator. Malik looked like he couldn't breathe. Seriously? You've got talent, Malik. It's time the world saw it. One by one, the people in the facility began to believe something new, that they mattered, that someone finally saw them. Nathaniel stayed until every system was fixed. Every voice heard, every wound mended, and when he finally returned to the top floor of his headquarters, he walked indifferent. No more distance, no more walls. He shook hands with the security guard, smiled at the receptionist, remembered birthdays, and at the bottom of every decision, he remembered the mop, the sweat, the stories, and the blueprint, which was now a prototype. His company was changing, because he had changed. But as Nathaniel walked into the launch meeting for the new product, he saw a shadowy figure waiting outside the boardroom, someone holding a folder marked confidential, and a name scribbled on it, Royce Holdings, internal whistleblower memo. Who had written it, and what secret was still hidden? Nathaniel froze at the doorway. The boardroom buzzed with executives waiting to present the prototype, but all he could focus on was that folder. The man holding it was young, nervous, and dressed like someone who didn't belong in a room full of suits. He stepped forward slowly. Mr. Royce? Yes? Nathaniel replied cautiously. I need to give you this. I didn't know who else to trust. Nathaniel took the folder. Who are you? My name's Eric. I work in procurement, or I used to. I think I'm about to be fired. Nathaniel opened the folder. Inside were dozens of pages, emails, invoices, and screenshots. But one line stood out immediately. Facility 19 wasn't the only one. This has been happening across 6 locations. The same scheme, different names. Higher up. Nathaniel looked up, stunned. Eric swallowed hard. I started seeing patterns after reviewing supply orders. I tried telling my manager. They told me to drop it. Then my access got revoked. A cold wave passed over Nathaniel. He had been so focused on one building, one problem. He hadn't seen how deep it went. Sit tight, Nathaniel told him. You're not fired. You just saved this company. He walked into the boardroom but didn't sit at the head of the table. He looked around at the executives, some proud, some nervous, all watching. We'll postpone today's launch, he announced. Murmurs broke out across the room. Nathaniel raised a hand. There's something more important right now. I've just received evidence of internal fraud that spans multiple facilities. We're launching an internal investigation immediately. Then he left the room, walked past the lobby, and took the elevator down. This wasn't over. He called a meeting with HR, legal, compliance, and his personal ethics team, assembled months earlier but rarely activated. Over the next week, the investigation spread. Patterns emerged. Fake vendor accounts, shell companies, manager kickbacks. And it all pointed to one name: Colin Braddock, Chief Operations Officer, Nathaniel's former best friend, the man who had helped him build the company from nothing. The betrayal stung like nothing else. At first, Nathaniel couldn't believe it. He reviewed everything himself, cross-checking dates, authorizations, payments. It was true. Colin had created a web of manipulation beneath the surface of the company, unseen, quiet, bleeding money and trust for years. And now, it had to end. Nathaniel invited Colin to his office one evening after everyone had left. Colin walked in, calm as ever, smiling. You wanted to see me? Nathaniel slid the folder across the desk. Colin looked down, didn't flinch. So, Colin said slowly, you really went down there, pretended to be one of them. They're not them, Nathaniel said. They're us. You forgot that. Colin leaned back. You don't understand what it takes to keep an empire running. No, Nathaniel said. You don't understand what it takes to build one worth running. There was silence, heavy, final. You're done, Nathaniel said. Resign, now, or we go public. Colin's face changed. Rage flickered in his eyes, but he said nothing. Just signed the paper. When he left, Nathaniel slumped in his chair. Everything he thought he knew was broken. But in the cracks, new roots had started to grow. Lucia visited headquarters a week later. She wore a blouse and blazer, nervous in the tall glass building. Nathaniel welcomed her with a smile. You ready? He asked. She nodded. He walked her to the innovation lab where Malik now worked. His ideas were on the wall, blueprints turned into actual hardware. This is your facility now, Nathaniel said. The kind of place we should have built from the start. Lucia looked around. She didn't say much, just smiled. That night, Nathaniel stood by his office window, staring out at the city. So many stories, so many people. He had spent years building towers, but he had forgotten to walk the halls. Now, he'd never forget again. His company was healing, changing. But just as he reached for his coffee, a small package was delivered to his desk, no return address. Inside, a USB drive and a single sticky note. You only uncovered the beginning. Nathaniel plugged it in, and what he saw made his blood run cold. The screen lit up. A folder appeared, Royce Truth Archive. Nathaniel hesitated for a second, then clicked. Videos, audio recordings, confidential emails. But one file caught his eye first. Project Echelon, Phase 0, suppressed internal memo, do not distribute. He opened it, and his stomach flipped. It was a proposal, one he had never seen before. Dated 5 years ago, signed by his board, stamped with his digital approval. But Nathaniel had never read it, never authorized it. The project aimed to automate janitorial positions across 60% of their facilities using cheap AI bots outsourced to a shell company. The result? Hundreds of workers let go quietly. No severance, no transition plan, no retraining. And at the center of it all, Colin Braddock. Worse, the files showed who helped hide it. 3 senior board members, 2 of his own legal team, and the system administrator who had forged his digital signature. Nathaniel's hands trembled. This was more than corruption. This was betrayal on a scale he hadn't imagined. He clicked on another file, surveillance audio 212 at MP3. It was a recording. He doesn't know. He's too busy playing billionaire superhero. Let him sweep a few floors. As long as he doesn't dig too deep, we're safe. A second voice laughed. By the time he does find anything, we'll have moved the funds to Cayman and killed the project files. Click. End of recording. Nathaniel stared at the screen, breath shallow. They hadn't just been stealing, they had been watching him, waiting for him to fail, and covering their tracks while he mopped floors. But someone inside had turned against them. Someone who sent this drive. Someone still in the shadows. He looked again at the sticky note. The handwriting. It was familiar. Lucia. No, not her handwriting, but similar. His mind flashed to someone else. Matteo. The boy was brilliant. She'd said it in passing, that he loved puzzles, loved cracking codes, that he once restored her old phone just by watching YouTube videos. Nathaniel remembered how the drive was carefully organized, clean, logical, like a puzzle solver had made it readable. But why would Matteo have access to this? He picked up the phone and called Lucia. "Hey," she answered, tired but warm. "Lucia, has Matteo been messing with any computers lately? Something strange?" There was a pause. She lowered her voice. "Nathaniel, Matteo has been saying odd things. He asked me what Project Echelon was last week. I thought he just overheard something on TV." Nathaniel's heart dropped. "They're watching everything, even your facility." He stood up. "I need to protect you two, now." He left the office, grabbed his coat, and told his driver to head to Lucia's apartment immediately. He didn't wait. He took the elevator, ran the stairs, and knocked. Lucia opened the door, confused. Matteo peeked from behind her. "Did you send me this?" Nathaniel asked gently, showing the USB. Matteo's eyes widened. "I found it, on your computer," he confessed. "When you came over last week, I saw your ID badge. I was curious, so I looked into your files online. It wasn't locked." Lucia gasped. "Matteo!" Nathaniel knelt down. "You didn't do anything wrong," he said softly. "In fact, you may have just saved hundreds of jobs, maybe more." Matteo's lip trembled. "Will I get in trouble?" "No," Nathaniel said, "but some very bad people might." He stood and turned to Lucia. "I need to take this to the authorities, but I also need to find the root, the rest of it." Lucia nodded. "We'll stay low, be careful." And as Nathaniel stepped back into the dark night, he knew this wasn't just about cleaning up a company anymore. It was about taking back everything. But as his car pulled away, a black SUV parked across the street turned on its headlights, and the driver pulled out a phone. "He has the drive. Should we move now?" A voice on the other end replied. "Wait, let's see who he trusts next." Nathaniel couldn't sleep that night. He sat at the edge of his hotel bed, laptop open, heart racing. The files Matteo had found were only the beginning. Each document led to another name, another facility, another decision that reeked of betrayal. But something else bothered him. Who had kept this secret for so long? And how had it stayed buried, even from him? He clicked through more folders. Buried deep inside a hidden directory, he found another recording. This one was different. It was a video. He hit play. The screen flickered to life. A camera faced a long boardroom table. Colin Braddock sat at the head. Around him, several high-ranking staff Nathaniel had trusted. Colin leaned forward, voice low. This company is too soft now. Nathaniel's lost the edge. He talks about culture and people, forgetting we built this on control, not kindness. If we don't make hard moves, we lose. So we act quietly, cut the fat, automate, hide the paper trail, and if he ever catches on, he smiled, we bury it before it breathes. Nathaniel clenched his fists. This wasn't just fraud, it was a mutiny. Suddenly, his phone buzzed. Unknown number. He answered. "Mr. Royce," a woman whispered. "You don't know me, but I used to work for Colin." "Who is this?" "My name is Alia. I was on the Echelon project team. I didn't know what it really was until it was too late. When I tried to walk away, they threatened me." Nathaniel stood up, alert. "Where are you now?" "Hiding. They're watching ex-employees, especially the ones who knew what they were doing was wrong. But I have copies, records, memos. I backed everything up." Nathaniel's voice was firm. "Can we meet?" A pause. "Yes, but not at your office, not anywhere public. I'll send a location. Midnight. Bring someone you trust." Click. The line went dead. Nathaniel grabbed his coat again. 2 hours later, he met Alia in an abandoned train station on the edge of the city. She wore a hoodie, kept her face low. Her voice was cautious but steady. "I never wanted to be part of it," she said. "But once you're in, there's no clean way out." She handed him a flash drive. "This is every message, every meeting. I archived it when I felt like something was off." Nathaniel looked at her. "Why come forward now?" Alia looked up, eyes glassy. "Because someone believed in us. I saw your changes, Lucia's promotion, Malik's invention. You cared. That's all it took." Nathaniel nodded. "Thank you. I won't let this fall into silence." Just as they turned to leave, headlights flashed from the far end of the tracks. Alia froze. "They found me." 3 figures emerged, dark suits. No words, just quick movements. Nathaniel pulled Alia behind a pillar. "Go," he whispered. "Run, I'll distract them." "No, you'll get hurt." "Go." She bolted toward the service door while Nathaniel moved the opposite way, knocking over a rusted oil drum to create a diversion. The men followed the sound, flashlights flickering. Nathaniel ducked, heart pounding, gripping the flash drive like it was a lifeline. He barely escaped through a maintenance tunnel. By the time he made it back to his car, drenched in sweat and dust, Alia had sent one last message. "I'm safe, for now, but they're tracking everyone close to you. Be careful." Nathaniel looked out the windshield. He had the proof, he had the motive, and now he had the enemy's attention. He couldn't go back to business as usual. Tomorrow he would address the board. In front of the company, in front of the world. But he had to prepare for war, because whoever was behind all this wasn't done. Not yet. Morning came like a storm. Nathaniel barely rested. His clothes were wrinkled, his eyes tired, but his mind had never been sharper. He stood in front of the mirror, straightened his tie, and whispered to himself, "Tell the truth, all of it." He arrived at headquarters just before 8 a.m., but this time he didn't take the executive elevator. He walked in through the front entrance, past the security guards, past the assistants, past the rows of employees just clocking in. People stared. Some whispered, some smiled, especially the janitors. When he entered the main auditorium, the space was already filling up. He'd sent out a surprise company-wide invite at 6 a.m., mandatory attendance. No exceptions. Every department, every executive, every manager, and a live stream to every global branch. He walked onto the stage without music. No flashy presentation, just him and a microphone. The crowd quieted. "I owe you all the truth," he began, his voice calm, steady. "I founded this company with the belief that people matter. That innovation is nothing without integrity. But somewhere along the way, some of us forgot that." He clicked the remote. The projector lit up behind him, displaying a slide labeled Project Echelon, the cover-up. Gasps filled the room. Nathaniel continued, revealing everything. Emails, signatures, the audio recordings. He named names. Colin Braddock, the board members, the shell vendors. He told them about his month as a janitor, about Lucia Malik. The blueprint. The betrayal. People you walk past every day are smarter, braver, and more loyal than the ones sitting in corner offices, he said, looking directly at the front row. He paused, and I didn't see it until I lived it. A silence fell over the room, heavy, real. I'm not here to save face. I'm here to rebuild this company from the inside out. Starting today, new ethics leadership. Every facility will have employee review boards. Every worker will have a voice. He looked around, his tone deepened, and to those of you who stole, who silenced, who buried the truth, legal action begins today. This is your notice. Applause began slowly, from the back, then the sides, then it swept the room. Tears shimmered in some eyes. Even a few executives nodded with respect. He stepped off stage. His assistant ran up to him. "You just went nuclear," she said breathlessly. "I know," he replied. "But it's not over yet," she warned. "We just received a cease and desist from Colin's lawyer. He's claiming the documents were fake, that you forged them." Nathaniel's jaw tightened. "Of course he is. Worse," she continued, handing him a phone. "They leaked a video of you at a party 2 years ago, drunk, saying something about cutting costs by removing dead weight. It's already on the news. They're painting you as the villain." Nathaniel watched the clip. It was him, but out of context. He was mocking an investor, not employees. Still, the media wouldn't care. "They're playing dirty," she said. He sighed. "Then we fight smarter." He opened a group chat with Lucia, Malik, and Alia. "They're trying to destroy me publicly now. Time to move. We show our footage, the real one." The night Malik explained his invention, the moment Lucia found out she was back on benefits, the recordings Alia has, everything, we release it all. Let the people decide. Malik responded instantly. "I'll help edit the timeline tonight," Lucia replied. "We've got your back." Alia sent a final message. "Let's burn their lies to the ground." That night, Nathaniel's team launched #RoyceRevealed, a digital story told in real time across platforms. Every piece of evidence, every human story, every face behind the flaws and wires of the company. It went viral in hours. Comments flooded in. "I work at Facility 32. I saw what they did to our best engineer. This janitor gave me food when I couldn't afford dinner. We owe them more. The CEO is finally doing what others won't." But then, something happened. A direct message appeared in Nathaniel's inbox. No name. Just a short sentence. "You've exposed Echelon, but you haven't even scratched Echo Corp." Attached was a link. Password protected. Nathaniel stared at the screen. Echo Corp? He'd never heard of it. And yet, deep down, he knew this story wasn't over. Not even close. Nathaniel clicked the link. A password prompt blinked at him. He hesitated. Tried something simple. Echelon. Access denied. He tried again. Royce, still nothing. He stared at the screen, then typed, "Lucia." Click. Access granted. His stomach twisted. The screen shifted to a minimalist dashboard. A loading bar crawled slowly across the top. "Welcome to Echo Corp. Internal Intelligence Archive Tier 3 clearance verified." Rows of folders appeared, each one dated, stamped, and oddly labeled. Asset integration, Royce Holdings. Facility takeovers, shadow divisions. AI automation transition, human risk file. Surveillance reports, Royce CEO activity. Target list, priority watch active. Nathaniel's hands trembled. He clicked the final one. A spreadsheet opened. Names, hundreds of them. Next to each name, codes like S1 active, R5 terminated, I3 pending clearance. Then he saw it. Row 23rd. Name: Lucia Ramirez. Status: S2. Emotional leverage. Observation. Active notes. Single parent. Target: exhibits loyalty traits. High potential for influence. Monitor via child. Nathaniel's heart dropped. They weren't just watching him. They had marked Lucia as a pawn. And Matteo, his son, part of their strategy. He clicked deeper into the human risk file folder. There it was, a company proposal, one he had never seen, yet somehow approved under his name. The subject line made his blood freeze. EchoCorp acquisition strategy, full integration of Royce Holdings leadership via psychological engineering. Date: initiated 5 years ago. Status: in progress. He skimmed through the document. The truth hit him like a punch to the chest. EchoCorp wasn't an external partner. It was a shell entity created by Colin Braddock years ago, meant to quietly absorb Royce Holdings from the inside through influence, control, disinformation, manipulation. They targeted loyal employees first, pressured them, watched them, broke them. If that didn't work, they fired them, silently. Lucia had survived the first wave. Malik too. Nathaniel? He had been their final piece. The entire Janitor experiment, his own journey, had been tracked, not just observed, designed. They had anticipated it, even encouraged it. Let him play savior. Let him get close. Let him feel empowered. So when he tried to clean the company, he would be emotionally tied to their manipulated narrative, unable to see the real power beneath. Until now. A loud knock at the door pulled him from the screen. He jumped. "Mr. Royce?" came his assistant's voice. "You need to see the news." Nathaniel opened the door. She handed him her tablet. The headline flashed. Breaking: Royce Holdings under cyber investigation. CEO linked to shadow intelligence group EchoCorp. Below that, his picture, his name, the leaked dashboard from the file he just opened. He realized what had happened. It was a trap. They wanted him to open it. The moment he entered the password, they triggered a digital leak, one that made it look like he was part of EchoCorp, not their victim. They flipped the story in seconds. His assistant stared at him, stunned. "Did you know about this?" He shook his head slowly. "No, I just walked into it." His phone buzzed again. Another anonymous message. "You wanted the truth. Now let's see if you survive it." He sat down, silent, breathing hard. The world now saw him as the villain. The company hung in chaos. Lucia and Matteo were still being watched. Malik's invention, already tied to Royce's name, was now under review. Everything was falling apart, unless he did something radical. He reached for his phone, dialed. "Lucia, it's worse than we thought." "I know," she whispered. "They came to my door. Get Matteo. Go to the safe house I told you about. Take Malik too." She didn't argue. She trusted him. Nathaniel hung up. Then he made one more call. To a man he hadn't spoken to in 12 years. "Detective Reno? It's Nathaniel Royce. You said if I ever had proof, real proof of corporate espionage, you'd help me burn the system down." There was silence. Then, "You have 10 minutes to get out of your building. I'll send a team. You're not safe." Nathaniel grabbed the drive, his bag, his keys. As he ran through the back exit of the Royce Tower, a dark van rolled up to the front, unmarked, quiet. Inside it, a woman in a suit whispered into her earpiece. "Royce is moving. Do we intercept?" A voice responded coldly. "No, let him run. Let him gather his little team. We'll crush them all when they think they've won." Nathaniel didn't stop running until he reached the parking garage 2 blocks away. He jumped into an old sedan he had kept for emergencies. No tracking, no smart systems. Just keys, gas, and wheels. As he pulled onto the freeway, his phone buzzed with calls, texts, notifications, all shouting the same thing. Breaking: Billionaire CEO linked to secret spy network. Royce Holdings in crisis. Board calls emergency vote to remove CEO exclusive. Former COO speaks out. Says Nathaniel orchestrated the lie. Colin had made his move. Nathaniel's empire, his name, was now a headline scandal. But he wasn't panicking. He was angry. And anger, he realized, could be fuel if aimed right. He drove straight to the safe house, a quiet, one-story cabin on the edge of the city, hidden beneath tall pines, once used for corporate retreats. Lucia opened the door the moment he arrived. Her eyes were puffy. She had clearly been crying. Matteo was curled up on the couch, headphones on, watching cartoons, trying to stay strong. Malik sat at the table, sketching something nervously on a napkin. Nathaniel stepped inside, rain dripping from his jacket. "We've got one shot," he said. Lucia looked up. To do what? To flip the story back. He placed the USB drive on the table. "They framed me, but this same drive has enough raw data to expose EchoCorp completely. How they forged my approval, how they planned to take over my company, how they manipulated us." Malik leaned forward. "But how do we prove you didn't create this?" Nathaniel looked at him. "You still have the original server credentials for the engineering lab?" Malik nodded slowly. "Yeah, the ones you helped me set up before the prototype." "Good, because if we can trace the real digital fingerprints, the source IP addresses, the login metadata, we can show the files were planted, that I never opened them until they let me." Lucia added, "And if we include statements, mine, Alia's, even recordings of Colin's meeting, then we can release it all," Nathaniel said, "publicly, not just to the news, but straight to the people." Malik raised an eyebrow. "You want to leak the full story?" "More than that," Nathaniel replied. "We're going to live stream it." They worked through the night. Lucia recorded her testimony. Malik extracted server logs. Matteo, surprisingly skilled with code, helped organize files by date. Even Alia joined them remotely, speaking in a voice barely above a whisper. "If they find me helping you again, they'll erase me, but I'll risk it." By morning, they had compiled everything into one airtight file system. Malik connected the live stream through multiple anonymous servers. Lucia stood behind Nathaniel, her hand resting gently on his shoulder. "Ready?" He nodded. The stream went live. The screen faded in, black at first. Then white text appeared. The truth about Royce Holdings, about EchoCorp, about all of us. This is not a scandal. This is a system, and today we break it. Nathaniel spoke calmly, directly into the camera. He told the whole story, his undercover month as a janitor, the discovery of the blueprint, the corruption, the betrayal, the manipulation of employees. He laid it all bare. Then came the files, the surveillance audio, the emails, the whistleblower memo, Lucia's emotional story, Malik's invention and the sabotage attempts. Even a secret audio Alia had saved of Colin admitting, "He's too idealistic. Nathaniel still believes in people. That's his flaw. Makes him easy to control." The live stream exploded. Hundreds of thousands tuned in. Then millions. The hashtag #RoyceTruth started trending globally. Comments poured in. "We stand with you. This changes everything. EchoCorp needs to be shut down now." Within hours, news stations scrambled to verify the evidence. By nightfall, government officials stepped in. A federal investigation was launched, warrants issued, arrests began, and at the center of it all, Colin Braddock disappeared. Vanished. No trace. The board issued a statement clearing Nathaniel's name, publicly admitting they had been manipulated and misled. But for Nathaniel, the victory felt different. He didn't smile. He didn't celebrate. Instead, he sat beside Matteo, who quietly leaned his head on Nathaniel's shoulder. "You're not like the others," the boy said. Nathaniel looked down. "What do you mean?" "You listen," Matteo whispered. "You see people." That was the only reward he needed. Days passed, then weeks. Royce Holdings was rebuilding, this time from the inside out. Lucia led the Employee Trust Council. Malik became head of ethical innovation. Mateo, he got a full scholarship from a new Royce fund for employee families. Nathaniel stepped back from daily operations, but not from purpose. He knew EchoCorp wasn't dead. It was watching, waiting, maybe under a new name. And one day, as he stood outside the facility where it all began, an envelope was slipped into his pocket by a passing stranger. No return address. Just a card inside. You stopped one storm, but you just walked into the thunder. Underneath, coordinates, a place Nathaniel had never heard of, but deep in his chest. He felt it again, that quiet fire. What lies at the coordinates? Has EchoCorp truly vanished, or simply evolved? And will Nathaniel risk everything again to finish what he started?